Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, welcome back to Matsa Surba Online English Lesson with me, Ratna Hidayati. How are you? I hope all of you are healthy and happy and ready to study. Alright, before we start, let's say the dua together. Raditu billahi rabba wa bil islami dina wa bi Muhammadin nabiyya wa rasula. Rabbi zidni ilma warzuqni fahma waj'alni min ibadika sholihin. May Allah let our heart be filled with light and insight and knowledge and understanding. Amin. Our topic today is numbers. And this time, I'm going to focus on part 2, telling the time. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to read analog and digital clocks and ask and give information related to time. There are two kinds of clocks: analog clock and digital clock. Now, let's start to talk about how to tell the time using analog clock. Look at this. This is an analog clock. An analog clock has numbers around the circle. Okay, look at this. This one is called big hand. Big hand shows the minutes. And this one is little hand. Little hand shows the measures of the hour and uses the numbers on the clock face. It moves very slowly. Okay, now look at this. Okay, this little section is 1 minute. Okay, there are many little sections here. Now, look at this. Section between each of the numbers is 5 minutes. There are 60 minutes in 1 hour. It takes a whole hour to move between one number to the next number. Now, let's learn to answer the question, what is the time? Look at this. This one is a clock. Look at the big hand. The big hand is pointing to 12. So, when the big hand is pointing to 12 like this, we read the time as a clock. And now, look at the little hand. The little hand is pointing to 3. So, we read this as 3 o'clock. Now, let's try once again using a different number. Look at this clock. Okay, look at the big hand. The big hand is on 12. And look at the little hand. It's on number 2. So, we read this as 2 o'clock. Right? Now, what about if the big hand is on a different number? Look at this clock. The big hand is on number 6. And the little hand is on number 4. Okay, remember that when the big hand is on number 6, we read this as a half. Okay, so this one is 4:30. Now, let's learn to read the time with the big hand on number 3. Look at this. The big hand is on number 3 and the little hand is on number 4. And we read this time as 4:15. And now, what about if the big hand is on number 9 and the little hand is on number 11? We read this as 11:45. So, remember that when the big hand is on number 6, it means that the big hand already moves halfway of the face clock. Okay, and from number 6 to number 12, it also means that the big hand will move halfway. Okay, so when it's on the yellow area here, okay, we read it as half past. And on the orange area, we read it as half 2. Okay, now what about quarter? Okay, when the big hand is on number 3, okay, means that it already moves a quarter from number 12. Okay, so we read the clock as 1/4 past. Okay, and when the big hand is on number 9, it means that it needs a quarter part, okay, a quarter way to reach number 12. Okay, so we read this as 1/4 to. Well, what about if the big hand is on the different numbers? Okay, look at this clock. The big hand here is on number 4, right? Okay, so when the big hand is on number 4, we have to count the minute. Look at this. Okay, do you still remember that between the number, okay, between two numbers, there are 5 little sections. So there are 5 minutes. Because it's on number 4, so it's 20 minutes. Now, look at the little hand. Okay, the little hand here is on number 5. So, it's 20:5. Remember, the way to read the time is by saying the minute first and then after that, the hour. Okay, now let's continue the discussion by talking about telling the time using digital clock. Look at this. This is a digital clock. Okay, it's quite simple to read this. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Okay, now what about this clock? Okay, when the minute, okay, the minute or the big hand is pointing at 6, we read this as 30 minutes or half, right? So it's 8:30. And now look at this. It's 15 minutes after 12, right? So it is read as it's a quarter past 12. And this one is 45 after 5, right? Or 15 minutes before 6, right? So we read this as it's a quarter to 6. Well, it's your turn now to have an exercise how to read the time. Okay, look at this. Before you start, I will give you 2 examples. This is the first example. Okay, look at this. The big hand is on number 6 and the little hand is on number 10. So this one is right. It's 10:30. Okay, now number 2. Okay, look at this. The big hand is on number 9 and the little hand is on number 5. So, what about this one? Okay, this one is right. It's a quarter to 5. It's now your turn to do the exercise yourself on task 1. Number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, and number 10. Okay, let's continue to do the next task. Okay, task 2. Look at this. The left column here, okay, you have the clock, okay, in the form of numbers. So this one is digital clock, right? Okay, and on the right column here, you have the way to read the clock. What you have to do is matching. So match the clock here, the digital clock, with the way to read it. Okay, let me give you an example. Number 1. Remember that when reading the time, first of all, you have to look at the minute. Okay, look at the minute first. It's 5, right? Okay, so 5 minutes. And the hour is 4. Okay, so do you know the answer? Okay, so 5 past 4, right? Okay, so the answer is B. Great. Okay, for number 2 to number 10, please do it yourself. Okay, don't forget to prepare your pen and paper. Well, let's continue now. Okay, pay attention on this picture. I hope this picture will help you to check what you have done on the 2 tasks. Okay, look at this. When the big hand is on number 12, we read the time as a clock. And when it's on number 3, we read this as a quarter past. When it's on number 6, we read this as half past. And when it's on number 9, it's a quarter to. Okay, now what about if the big hand is on number 1? Yeah, because between two numbers, okay, from number 12 here to 1, okay, there are 5 little sections, remember? Right, so we read this as 5 pas. Okay. Similarly, when it's on number 2, because there are 2 numbers after 12, okay, so we read this as 10 pas. Okay, so pas here is if when the big hand is on the yellow sections. Okay, and when the big hand is on the red section, we read this as 2. Okay. Let's now discuss about AM and PM. Okay, look at this clock. A clock face has 12 numbers, right? Okay, but one day there are 24 hours. So, to differentiate between the first 12 hour with the second 12 hour, okay, we use AM and PM. 12 AM is midnight, or the time when we are sleeping. Okay, AM here is ante-meridian. Ante means before, meridian is midday. When we say AM, we are referring to the hours before noon. Okay, and 12 PM is noon or lunch time. PM here stands for post meridian. Post means after, so after midday in this case, and last post, late, so after midday. So when we say PM, we are referring to the hours past noon. To help you to understand the difference between AM and PM, please look at the table of the time formats. We have the 12-hour formats and 24-hour formats. Okay, when it's 12 at the time we are sleeping or midnight, we just say it at 12 midnight. Okay, but when it's already 1 minute after 12, we call it or we read it 1 minute past 12 AM. Okay, and so on until 12 at noon or lunch time. When it's lunch time and the time strike on 12, then we read it 12 noon. Okay, and after 12, okay, we read it as PM. Okay, so 1 minute after 12, we read it as 1 past 12 PM, and so on until 12 midnight again. I hope this will help you better. Well, we have come to the end of this video lesson. I hope you get a better understanding on how to tell the time. Let's say Alhamdulillah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Okay, thank you so much. See you again next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.